Right, guys, let's be honest. Metroid has had one of the biggest comebacks in gaming, and it's quite a surprise, actually. Right. So, for those who don't know, in 2010, and Metroid was riding a high. They had just completed the Metroid Prime trilogy. They had the DS Hunters games, and obviously a pinball spin off. They were doing really well as a franchise. But then they released Metroid Other M, which many people have said is a bad game. It is disjointed, and it just kind of doesn't feel like a Metroid game. And Metroid's kind of a weird franchise anyway, because obviously you've got the 2D Metroidvanias, and you also got the 3D first-person shooter Metroid Prime games. So to not feel like a Metroid game and not being able to, get the story right and have it feel genuine was quite an issue for Metroid Prime, or Metroid Other M. Then you had the follow-up game, Metroid Federation Force, which this game just didn't need to exist. Let's be real; it is just not Metroid. I'm not against expanding Metroid universe. That's a good idea to me, in fact. But you kind of need to make it clear that this is a Metroid game that doesn't have Samus, and actually, I don't know, maybe have Samus train the next generation of Metroid hunters. But then obviously you didn't. You had obviously just these 4 random characters, and there was just a multiplayer game. It's just kind of a bad game as well. And then we got the Return of Samus 2 remastered for 3DS, and that was it for Metroid for quite a while. And then we got Metroid Dread and Metroid Prime remastered for Nintendo Switch, and genuinely these games seem to revitalize the series and revitalized a lot of people's love for Metroid. And now we've got Metroid Prime 4 on the way. Metroid Prime 4 comes out sometime in 2025. It's still no official release date yet, but it's honestly insane that Nintendo's been able to have such a big comeback with Metroid, because for many years people just thought the franchise was dead. You can have a few bad games. Every series ends up having a few bad games. Unless your name's Zelda. Zelda only has like one bad game, but then all franchises will suffer with at least one title that isn't the best. The problem Nintendo had was arguably the 2 worst Metroid games, Metroid Other M and Metroid Federation Force, came out within 6 years of each other, but they were back-to-back releases. Those, like the 2 Metroid games that were released closest, well, not closest, but you had Metroid Prime, Metroid Other M, 6 years later you had Metroid Federation Force, and you had nothing in between the two. Nothing in between the two that would have, made people think, okay, maybe Metroid's not, down bad, and maybe Metroid's not, trash now. But then, the remaster of Return of Samus, really good game, really nice update. And then you had, obviously, Metroid Prime Remastered, which, they recreated the whole game with brand new assets and stuff for that game, which is honestly quite insane that they put in that level of work and detail to remaster this game. And then you also have the other fact we need to factor in, Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread is genuinely, it is like the perfect 2D Metroid game. And I do genuinely hope that we get a sequel on Switch 2. I feel like they need to do a follow-up to the next Metroid Dread. Maybe not Metroid Dread, maybe Metroid, Revolution or something. I don't know, like name it something where, it sounds kind of cool when it's got a similar premise to the previous game. And then you got Metroid Prime 4, which is coming soon. And there's obviously a lot of hype for Metroid Prime 4, especially since this is a cross-gen release. It's going to release on Switch and Switch 2, which means potentially more people will buy it. More people will potentially buy this game. Depending on, obviously, if they get Switch 2 or if they're on Switch 1, you have the option to buy it. Similar to Pokemon Legends ZA, I believe it's titled. Yeah, genuinely, it's insane Metroid has had such a big comeback, because, for those 6 years, people thought, like, oh no, Metroid is done. Metroid is dead. But no, and it shows that as well that, with gaming, all you need is a few strong releases and you can make a comeback. And I'll be honest, I feel like Metroid's comeback is one that needs to be studied, because, it takes us a lot to go from, being seen as like a garbage franchise that no one wants to play anymore because you've had 2 bad games, to becoming a hit again and having everyone, love your new games and talk about you. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, do all that stuff. I've been EC, and I'm signing out. Peace.